10 years, 1 city, 2 armies. No winner. They say it started over a woman, but wars are about pride. And the Greeks had one man even the gods feared. Achilles, son of a goddess and a mortal, told he would die young, he chose glory anyway. And still he fell, 1 arrow, 1 heel. If the strongest could die, Troy would never fall by force, only by a trick.
Out. 10 years, enough! Not force.
The trick was Odysseus's, the cleverest man in the war. Force would never pass those gates. A gift would.
The hatch! The hatch! Here!
His best men hidden inside a wooden horse. 1 man left on the shore to lie.
Me! He lies! Burn him! A gift for Athena!
Forbid people something, and they want it even more. The Trojans dragged the horse in themselves.
Hail the horse! May we be safe now! We welcome you, people of Athens! Let the celebration begin!
By morning, Troy was ash.
Quiet. Not yet. Now! The gates!
They sailed home as winners, naive. That night, they had burned the gods' temples, and the sea remembered.
Captain! Home now? Home! To Penelope!
Blown off course, they landed for food and water.
Take it and run! We wait. The host.
Odysseus brought wine, a gift for the host. That politeness nearly killed them. The host was a Cyclops, a one-eyed giant who sealed them inside. Killing the giant was suicide. Only he could move that boulder.
We're all dead.
So Odysseus used words instead, wine, and a name, nobody. Keep that word.
What's your name? I am nobody. Nobody? I like you. Now! Do it now!
When the others asked who hurt him, he screamed nobody, so they left.
You? Nobody! No nobody then pray
If
to
nobody
Father.
did it, it's the gods' work. You don't argue with that.
Where are you? Not a sound.
They escaped, clean, and then Odysseus made the worst mistake of his life. Pride. He needed the monster to know who beat him,
Sit down!
so he shouted out his real name. Nobody saved him. His name doomed him.
I am Odysseus! Father, avenge me.
The giant's father was Poseidon. Now the god of the sea knew his name, and Odysseus had a whole ocean to cross. His wits won a war. One careless word cost him 10 years. Ever said something you'd give anything to unsay? Tell me below. Ahead, another island, a woman who would feed his crew like guests, then watch them turn into pigs. Literally. But that's another story. After Odysseus blinded the Cyclops and set out home across the seas, the gods of Olympus for the first time seemed to take pity. His ships drifted to a floating island ruled by Aeolus, keeper of the winds. A month of welcome, of full tables, and a parting gift, a leather bag. Inside it, Aeolus had sealed every storm wind, leaving only the soft west wind, just enough to carry them to Ithaca.
Take it, but beware.
9 days they sailed. 9. And on the 10th, there it was, Ithaca on the horizon, close enough to see the fires on the shore. Home. And right then, Odysseus, worn to the bone, fell asleep. And his crew stared at that fat leather bag and thought one thing. Gold. The captain had stashed himself a treasure and not a crumb for them. So they opened it. Every wind in the world tore loose at once. The storm snatched them up and hurled them back all the way to where they started. Aeolus took one look and shut his door. A man the gods hate this much, he said, gets no help from me. So they took to the oars and rowed until they found a harbor, quiet, sheltered, perfect. Only too perfect. This was the land of the Laestrygonians, giants. These ones didn't talk, didn't bargain, nothing. They just came down to the water and started throwing boulders. Ship after ship to the bottom, and the men thrashing in the water, they speared like fish in a barrel and dragged off to supper. Of 12 ships, 1 broke free. 1.
Cut it loose!
Odysseus cut his own mooring line and ran, and behind him he heard all of it. He had left Troy with a whole fleet. Now he had a single ship of survivor. Next, they landed on a green island, Aea. Odysseus sent half his men inland to look around. They found a palace, and inside it a woman singing at her loom. Beautiful, welcoming, kindness itself. Her name was Circe. She poured them wine, gave them bread, warmed them up, and the moment they relaxed, she touched them with her wand and turned them into pigs. One man hung back because something felt off. He's the one who ran to warn Odysseus. And here's what the rest couldn't manage, but Odysseus could. he went after them, alone.
Eat this.
On the path, a stranger stopped him, Hermes, the messenger god, with a single white flower. Moly, the one herb that breaks her magic. Eat this, he says, and her spell will just slide off you. So when Circe touched him, already reaching toward the pigsty, nothing happened. In all her life, she had never met a man her magic didn't work on, and a witch who suddenly runs into her equal does the only thing left to her.
My power is yours to command.
She swears an oath and puts everything back. The men were men again, and Circe, who'd meant to trap them, became the one who finally told Odysseus the truth. "You want to go home," she says.
First, the dead.
"Then first, you go where no living man comes back from. You have to go to the land of the dead." Naive to think the witch was the worst thing on that sea. The worst was still ahead. On the road she had just pointed him down, Circe gave him a heading, all the way to the edge of the world, past the ocean to a shore where the sun never shines, where the dead drift like fog. No living man goes there of his own will. He dug a pit the way she taught him, milk, honey, wine, and the blood of a black ram. And the dead came crowding for that blood, hundreds rising out of the dark, soldiers, brides, old men, whispering, reaching with their hands. He had to hold them back with his sword and wait for the one he'd come for. The prophet, Tiresias. Blind in life and in death, he sees everything. And what he said was no comfort. It was a warning.
The cattle of the sun.
You'll reach an island, he says, and there's cattle there, golden, property of the sun god himself. Touch them and you lose everything. The ship, the men, all of it. You'll crawl home alone, years late on a stranger's boat, and find your own house packed with enemies.
Leave them be.
Leave them be, and maybe you live. And right here, while the dead still circled, Odysseus saw a face he never expected. His mother. When he left for Troy, she was alive. Not anymore. She died waiting for him, simply burned away from grief. He lunged to embrace her 3 times, and 3 times his arms closed on nothing. She ran through them like smoke. You can't hold the dead. He learned that the worst way there is. And then, out of the crowd, stepped a warrior even death hadn't made smaller. Achilles. You remember him, the best fighter who ever lived, the one who chose a short, blazing life over a long, quiet one, because he wanted glory. He wanted his name to outlast him. Well, it did. So Odysseus said the kind thing. Don't grieve, Achilles. In life, they honored you like a god, and here you reign among the dead. And Achilles looked at him and answered, Don't sell me death. I'd rather be a slave.
Don't sell me death! Saying the last consonant.
Up there, alive, breaking my back in some pauper's field for a bowl of food, then reign over all the dead in this place. A man who gave his whole life for glory, now telling you to your face he'd give it all back for one ordinary day in the sun. Sit with that a while.
Whistler's thread insets dry grass.
Another shade stepped forward. Agamemnon, the king who led them all to Troy, came home a victor and took a knife at his own table from his own wife.
Wind. It carries no song.
Trust no one, he warned, not even the one waiting for you at home. Odysseus thought of Penelope and said nothing. He had what he came for, the way home, and a long list of everything that would kill him on it. So he climbed back up, toward the living, toward the light, and straight into the cruelest trial any sailor on the ocean ever lived through. The funny thing about the dead, they stop lying. Achilles spent his whole life chasing a name, and it took dying to admit he'd give it all up just to be alive.
Trust the eye of the
First
storm.
problem, the Sirens. Two voices on a flowering rock, singing so beautifully that every sailor who hears it steers his own ship onto the cliffs just to get closer, and dies right there in a meadow buried in bone. Circe's advice is simple: don't listen, plug your ears and row. But Odysseus, of course, wanted to hear it. The one man alive who couldn't leave a riddle unsolved. So he had the crew stuff their own ears with wax and tie him to the mast, tight, and swear that whatever he did, however he begged, they would not untie him. And the song came and promised him everything in the world, knowledge, glory, every secret there is. He strained against the ropes, screamed to be let go, begged, almost wept, and his deaf crew just kept rowing and pulled the knots tighter. He heard the sirens and lived, the only one ever to. Next, the strait, 2 cliffs, and between them, no safe path at all. On one side, a whirlpool, Charybdis. 3 times a day, she swallowed the whole sea and spat it back. On the other, a cave, and in the cave, Scylla. 6 heads, 6 long necks, and a hunger. Circe said it plainly, no mercy. You can't beat Scylla, don't even try. Hug her cliff, give up 6 men, and slip past. Steer toward the whirlpool to save those 6, and you lose every last one. 6 in exchange for the rest. Odysseus did the math and didn't tell the crew which of them was already written off. Scylla struck from above. 6 men, snatched off the deck in a single heartbeat, flew screaming up into the rock, calling his name as they vanished into her mouths. And he kept rowing, because he had to. The worst thing I ever saw, he admitted later. And believe me, he'd seen plenty.
Don't touch them!
And at last, they landed. The very island Tiresias had warned about. Golden cattle, grazing in the sun god's personal herd. Don't touch them, said Odysseus. You heard the prophet. We finish what we brought with us, and we leave. And then the wind died for a whole month. Stuck on the island, the food ran out, their stomachs empty, and in front of their eyes, every day, the same fat golden cattle. And while Odysseus slept, the crew made their choice. they slaughtered the cattle of the sun. The signs came at once. The hides crawled along the ground. The meat groaned right there on the spits. Everyone understood. Only too late. The moment they sailed, the sky cracked in two. One bolt from Zeus, and the ship blew apart into splinters, and every last man went under and didn't come up. Every one, except Odysseus. He lashed two broken beams together and held on, alone now, truly alone. And the current carried him back, straight into the whirlpool he just escaped. He grabbed a fig tree on the cliff and hung over the very throat of the sea until it spat his raft back out. And then he just drifted. 9 days. He warned them, for all the good it did, because a starving man doesn't hear prophecy. He hears his own stomach. That's how every one of them died, not in battle, just hungry, and out of a single drop of patience.
I remember you, you'll pay.
To understand where that beggar in the hall came from, we have to go back to where we left him. Two broken beams in the middle of an empty sea, and a man who has been holding on to them with his bare hands for 9 days. On the 10th day, a wave threw him onto the island of Ogygia at the very edge of the world. And there, she found him, Calypso, a nymph, a goddess, the lonely mistress of the island. She pulled him from the water, warmed him, healed him, and never let him go. 7 long years he sat on the rocks, staring out at the sea, while she waited for him to change his mind.
Stay. Here is only love.
I can't. Home is waiting.
Because she had offered him the thing men sold their souls to the gods for: immortality, eternal youth, an eternal island, an eternal goddess at his side. Now think back to Achilles, down there among the dead. The greatest warrior in the world said he would trade all his glory for one ordinary day alive.
Zeus commands. Release him.
Cruel gods! Curse you all!
And this mortal was handed eternity on an open palm. And he chose an aging mortal woman across the sea. For 7 years, the gods watched this in silence, until Athena ran out of patience and forced a decision out of Zeus. Hermes came down to the island with a single order. But nobody argues with Zeus. 4 days he spent building a raft. 18 days he sailed, and he could already see the mountains of the Phaeacian land on the horizon. When Poseidon saw him, the god of the sea was returning from the Ethiopians. He glanced down and recognized him.
I remember you.
The same man who blinded his son. One word, one sweep of the trident, and the sky fell into the sea. The raft flew apart into planks. 2 days and 2 nights he swam, clinging to a piece of wreckage, until the goddess Ino took pity and threw him a magic veil. Tie it around you, and the sea will not take you. The rocks of Scheria tore his hands open, but a river mouth carried him onto the shore. Naked, salt-crusted, half alive. This was the land of the Phaeacians, the finest sailors in the world. Princess Nausicaa found him on the beach, brought him to the palace, and King Alcinous welcomed the stranger as a guest. And there, at the table, he finally spoke his name, Odysseus. And he told them everything you saw in the previous parts, the the Cyclops, the Sirens, Scylla, the cattle of the sun. The Phaeacians said not a word. They gave him a ship, and in a single night carried him to the place he had been sailing toward for 20 years. He was asleep when they laid him on the sand of Ithaca. Asleep, he never even saw himself arrive home. And the Phaeacians paid for their kindness. Poseidon looked at their ship in its home harbor, and it turned to stone, in front of the entire city. Odysseus woke on a shore he did not recognize. Athena found him first, and the goddess had simple advice. Do not go home as a king.
Go! But as a beggar!
She touched him, and the hero of Troy became an old man in rags. Because his home was no longer his. 108 suitors sat in his hall,
Get out, old man!
eating his cattle, drinking his wine, demanding that Penelope choose a new husband. She held them off with cunning. I will choose, she said, when I finish weaving the funeral shroud for old Laertes. And she wove it by day, and by night, thread by thread, she unraveled it all back. For 3 years, the shroud never grew, until one of the maids sold the secret. After that, time ran out. The first one he revealed himself to was his son.
The shroud is undone. He is free.
In the hut of Eumaeus the swineherd,
She walks to war. The king is waiting.
Athena lifted the disguise for a moment.
Take it. You look like you need it.
Safe travels, old friend.
And Telemachus saw the father he knew only from other people's stories. The plan was cold.
Father? You're alive. I'm home, son. I'm back.
The son would carry the weapons off the walls of the hall. The doors would be locked, and the father would walk into his own house as a beggar and endure until the sign came. And he endured. The suitors threw bones at him. The servants mocked him in his own house, and he stayed silent. No one recognized the king of Ithaca.
Drink deep and strike hard!
No one, except one. By the gates, on a heap of dung, lay an old dog. Argos, the one he had left behind as a puppy 20 years ago. The dog raised his head and wagged his tail. One gesture in return, and the disguise was finished, so Odysseus wiped away a tear and walked past. And Argos lowered his head and died. He had waited 20 years to see him one more time. The dog knew him instantly. The people never did. Now you know who was sitting in the corner when Penelope brought out the bow.
String his bow.
Let him try.
It was her last attempt to buy time. Whoever strings the bow of Odysseus and sends an arrow through 12 axes, him she would marry.
Cursed piece of old wood!
She was certain no one could. For 20 years, that bow had obeyed one pair of hands. And he took it, turned it over, inspected it the way a musician checks his lyre. Had the worms eaten the wood while the master was away? And strung it in a single motion. The string sang under his fingers like a swallow. Zeus struck thunder over the house. The sign! The arrow passed through all 12 axes, from the first to the last, without touching a single one. The hall went very, very quiet. He rose, threw off the rags,
I'm home. Time to pay.
poured the arrows out at his feet, and for the first time all day, he told the truth. The second arrow found Antinous, the ringleader, a golden cup at his lips. He never managed the sip. The hall rushed to the walls for weapons, walls Telemachus had emptied in the night, to the doors, locked. 100 men and no way out. There were 4 of them, father, son, a swineherd, and a herdsman. And it was not even a battle, because above them, invisible to mortal eyes, stood Athena with her aegis, sowing terror through the hall. By evening, not one man remained of those who had spent 20 years calling another man's things their own. 20 years they ate at his table. The bill came in a single evening. And here is the ending all of this was for. Penelope came down into the hall, looked at the man she had waited 20 years for, and did not throw herself into his arms. She sat down across from him, in silence. Now, honestly, would you have believed it? 20 years, a stranger's face.
Carry out his bed.
You dare give me orders?
And gods know how to pretend to be human.
How could you betray us all for this? I will strike you down!
Your glory is dust.
She knew that better than anyone. So she set him the final test of this story, the quietest one of all. And he exploded. Carry it out? How? He built that bed with his own hands from a living olive tree that grows through the house, its roots sunk deep into the earth. It cannot be moved, unless someone cut down the trunk. And that was when she wept. Because only 2 people in the world knew about that bed. Her and the man who built it. Not a scar, not the bow, not 100 dead enemies. A secret only 2 people share. That is what proved he was him. 20 years, 10 at Troy, 10 at sea. He held eternity in his hands.
Get out, old man!
And traded it for a mortal woman, an old dog, and a bed made from a living tree. The Odyssey is not a story about a journey. It is a story about this. Immortality is worth nothing if no one is waiting for you at home. But not everyone thought that way. One king did the exact opposite, left his home, his power, everything, and went to the edge of the world in search of eternal life. His name was Gilgamesh, and his story is 1,000 years older than Homer. And there was a warrior who knew the day of his own death in advance and walked out to meet it. Cuchulainn. Both stories are coming. Now, you tell me down in the comments. Calypso offered him eternity. Penelope offered him old age and death. He chose death. What would you choose?